Episode 1 of Dutton Ranch begins with us following Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler as they explore the breathtaking scenery of the surrounding Yellowstone area. Riding out till sunset, they eventually sit under a tree drinking, reflecting back on the quiet and tranquil life they've managed to carve for themselves. The pair promise that they'll always find time to ride together, but as they drift off, crackles of lightning strobe across the sky. Unfortunately, this causes a fire to ignite in the distance, an angry orange inferno that's heading right for the ranch. While Rip gets to work cutting fences and getting the cattle out, he tasks Beth with grabbing Carter. The trio scramble, grabbing everything they can before heading out to safety. With the home lost and the land a smouldering mess of shattered dreams, they drive out to parts unknown. We then cut forward to Rio Paloma in Texas 6 months later. The place is blistering hot, a far cry from the ranch they grew up with. The pair have bought a new ranch here, initially belonging to the Edward family. Meanwhile, we get our first glance of the rival ranch we'll be following this season. Rob Will Jackson awakens a guy called Wes in the middle of the night, and they head out to the fields where he shoots the guy dead for looking at his tally books. Now, Rob Will is not going to tolerate having snitches on his payroll, and Chet, another guy here, is shocked to see this. However, it seems Rob Will is not the head honcho here. Along with Rob Will's brother, Joaquin, seemingly being the more business-minded of the two, there's also their mother Beulah Jackson. She's the matriarch around these parts and the one calling the shots. She's the one keeping everything in check. Interestingly, she bumps into Beth in the morning when she shows up at the slaughterhouse needing to schedule her steer in. Beulah stonewalls her and Beth is not best pleased. When the pair butt heads over logistics, she realises the game is rigged in their favour and leaves. Now, the Jackson family seem to hold all the keys to the locks and control the doors in Rio Paloma. And unless Beth wants to get into the extortion game, this may not end well. Meanwhile, an altercation at the gas station between Rip and Rob Will preludes drama that could spill over into something far worse. However, the Jacksons have much bigger fish to fry here, given the situation involving Wes's death. Now, Rip only has one other helper on his lot of land, with a faithful guy called Azul helping him. As for Carter, he struggles to fit in at school, but he does attract the attention of a young blonde. She encourages Carter to meet her at the rodeo that night, where she basically uses him to buy booze. Oldest trick in the book, of course, and he falls for it hook, line and sinker. Out in the parking lot though, Carter notices another blonde, Oriana, in an altercation with a guy. When he puts his hands on her, Carter snaps and beats the guy down, getting himself arrested in the process. Meanwhile, we meet a vet by the name of Everett McKinney, who shows up to euthanize an injured horse by the side of the road. Beth is also here too. She gets cold feet and urges him not to kill the animal, and despite the odds being against her, Beth makes the right call and decides to keep it alive. Although the horse is going to take a while to get back to 100%, it seems like the right call. It's been quite a day for the family, no doubt, and Carter is even let go too. Part of this stems from Oriana, who bails him out and seems to have big connections around town, especially with Sheriff Wade. And as the episode closes out, Joaquin encourages his mother to send Rob Will away for a while. He thinks the kid needs rehab and a fresh start, but unfortunately it's not quite that simple. While Rip is out patrolling the ranch, he finds Wes's body, half buried in the dirt. Episode 2 of Dutton Ranch begins with us cutting back to 8 days after the fire. Held out at the Western Inn, Rip manages to secure a place in Texas for them. Montana will always be their home, no doubt, but right now the attention is fixed on bigger and, hopefully, better things. Part of the issues in Texas stem from the Jackson family. This ranch that the Duttons have secured have been a lucrative piece of land that the Jackson family have been after for nearly 20 years now. However, the place has a lot of soul, and the owner, Jeannie, wants it handed over to a family that will properly care for it. Now, back in the present, Rip heads to an auction with Beth, but the Jackson family are also here too. Beth and Beulah eyeball one another the whole time, and you can already tell that these two are not going to see eye to eye. Thankfully, Everett McKinney may be just a ticket to help with Beth's slaughterhouse problem. Now, Everett reveals to Beth that he knows a place near San Antonio that could serve as their new slaughterhouse. It's quite a drive though, and the owner of said slaughterhouse is a man called Claudio. He runs a small operation with 4 guys, and it seems like he and Beth may get along well as they talk shop. Rip needs more help and he brings in a new guy to his crew, Zachariah Moss. The man is a former drunk, but he vows to stay clean and stay loyal to Rip's operation. Azul is the one who initially put in a good word for him, and it seems like it may work out for everybody. Meanwhile, Wes's wife, Whitney, shows up with her kid to the Jackson barn house, demanding answers about her husband. Joaquin obviously knows what's happening here, and he poker faces his way through an evasive chat with her. Whitney is not buying it though, and so she heads to the police station and reports Wes's disappearance. One person who can't poker face this is Chet, who's put in his place by Beulah during a particularly tense chat together. None of this is helped by the reveal that Wes's body is not on the Edwards Ranch anymore. So although Rob Will was essentially banished, Wes's missing body is still a point of contention they need to handle. Now Oriana spends more time with Carter in the midst of all this, but she very much plays the hot-cold game with him. When she receives messages from Grandma B, her demeanour changes and she heads back home, telling Carter she has a boyfriend. If it wasn't obvious already after those texts, we now learn that Oriana's grandmother is none other than Beulah, and the pair have a lot of hostility between them. With Rob Will, Oriana's father, off her rehab, Beulah wants to mould her in her image. Oriana though wants no part in this, but she's forced into the family business whether she wants to or not. And that night Beth introduces Rip to Everett. The pair get along well, talking briefly about the ranch and Beth's stubbornness. However, Rip has a secret. He's kept Wes's body on ice in the barn. In the middle of the night, he gets up and drives out to the old mine, dumping the body away from the ranch. Episode 3 of Dutton Ranch begins with Beth awakening to find Rip downstairs, dressed and making coffee. She questions why he wasn't in bed and Rip shrugs it off, claiming he has stuff on his mind. Now Beth is heading off to Dallas for a big meeting to find prospective buyers for their meat. Before she goes, the pair make sure to keep their promise of going for a ride together. This meeting is a big deal, and en route Beth drives down to see Claudio, picking up her meat. Things are tough for his business right now, but Beth promises to try and turn his fortunes around with their ranch. With the meat in a cooler, Beth then heads to a meeting with Giles Moore. His staff are run ragged and half of them aren't happy about the shortchanged tips from the previous night either. Beth senses an opportunity here and speaks to one of the disgruntled workers. Beth wants her to add one perfectly grilled ribeye to the family meal, promising to double the shortfall if she does. With the ribeye in hand, Beth makes a good impression to Moore and explains that she's about to set out and make deals with others if he doesn't play ball. This is still a pretty dicey situation though, let's be honest, and Beth is reminded that she's up against the Frontier Hospitality Group. Furthermore, a guy called Zane Nash is difficult. Beth shrugs all of this off, confident she can handle it. That night, Joaquin shows up at the bar and introduces himself as a problem solver. He's obviously part of the Jacksons' inner circle, and Beth isn't about to do business with them anytime soon. However, she is quite pleased that Beulah has mentioned her once or twice. Speaking of which, Beulah delivers a speech at Ellis Logan's funeral. All his fellow cops are there too, and she tells stories about the past and how integral he was to the community. Interestingly, Everett is also in attendance. Now in the graveyard, Everett catches up with Beulah. It seems like they have history, especially when she mentions how she misses him. He simply retorts, "Well, take care," and walks away. With Everett gone, Sheriff Wade speaks to Beulah about the rumblings currently going on regarding Wes's disappearance. He tells her to keep the bunkhouse under control. Meanwhile, Carter meets with Oriana, who continues to bemoan her situation with Hoyt. Carter decides to urinate all over his truck to impress Oriana, while she decides to smash up Hoyt's truck afterwards. Now Hoyt bursts out of his house promising to come after them as the pair drive off. However, they're stopped by the cops soon after on the road. Wade warns that Oriana is making way too much noise here and tells them that if they continue to stir up trouble, he's going to put them both in handcuffs. That night they sit together at Oriana's place, where she encourages Carter to smoke weed with her. They eventually start kissing afterwards. Now on the ranch, Rip is called out to the fields, where he finds a distressed cow suffering from foot and mouth disease. Everett confirms the diagnosis when he drives out and warns that it could spread through his ranks like wildfire if he's not careful. Rip mulls over whether this might be the new bull that he bought, and that's a huge problem, especially as Beth is in the middle of setting up meetings regarding their perfect livestock. Rip acts fast, tasking Azul and Zach to quarantine the herd and put a pasture in between them. They're going to camp out for a few days and keep an eye on all of this to make sure it doesn't get worse. While this is going on, Beulah receives a call from Mariano, reminding her that they need no surprises as business is about to pick up. These surprises, of course, come from Wes's disappearance and the continued rumblings with Whitney sniffing around asking questions. Beulah decides to head over and pay her a visit, only when she arrives at Whitney's, she finds the door is unlocked and Whitney herself has gone. Now up at the ranch, Anna Dupree shows up with a gun, pointing at Zachariah. Rip tries to mediate the situation, especially as Anna mentions that Zach killed her daughter, Teresa. Everett eventually takes Anna away, while Rip warns Zachariah that he better be repenting for what he's done. That night, around the campfire, Zach explains that he and Teresa were madly in love. They got into an argument and he was drunk, and he tried to run away, but he accidentally put his truck in reverse and ran her down. Azul claims it was an accident, but Zach has been eaten up by the guilt around this all this time. Maria Paloma have a long memory, and her death hit the community hard. As a result, Zach was looked at as the devil. And off the back of this, Everett says goodbye to Rip, pointing out Zach is a good man that's done terrible things. Beth then rings, pointing out she secured the deal, but of course they still have the situation involving the cattle to contend with. Rip urges her to head home as soon as she can. When Beth heads back, she and Rip both realise, with horror, that a foot and mouth disease has spread. Honestly, given the wealth of mediocre and underwhelming shows on TV right now, it's a breath of fresh air to watch Dutton Ranch. It is by far the best show on TV right now. The character work is excellent across the board, and we actually get some agency from the female characters without turning them into physically demanding girl bosses. Beth and Beulah are both powerhouses in their own right, let's not forget that, and they're out to protect their own no matter what. The drama involving Carter and Oriana is interesting too, because on the surface it looks like a simple romance filler line. However, given the ties between both their families and how ugly the conflict is likely to get between them, it's interesting to see Carter and Oriana start to become entangled together. The episode in particular has serious highs and lows. We see how adept Beth is at striking these business deals, and she's definitely not one to be trifled with. However, despite securing some good deals, they have a serious problem on their hand with this foot and mouth disease outbreak. That could cause serious problems for their cattle, and it's likely it started from that bull they bought at the auction. One of the standout parts of the episode though stems from Zach and the background surrounding his character. From a few simple dialogues around a campfire, we understand exactly why he's vilified by the community and why he's so torn. It's a heartbreaking story, but it also reinforces how these small communities stick together and can turn on a dime. It's a horrible death, no doubt, and it also explains why Zach turned to the Lord for forgiveness. Hearing Rip empathise with him and understand his plight helps his character a lot too. However, with the disease now spreading and everything tightening around the Duttons, where will our characters go from here? Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.